All right, welcome back to another episode of Knicks Morning Coffee Recap. All right, tonight we're going to talk about last night's game against the Knicks and the Celtics. Now, by now, everybody's seen something about the game, some type of commentary, some type of something. And a lot of fans, some of them seem to be in a bit of an uproar. We all know that this time of year, there's no such thing as a moral victory, but we at least got to say the Knicks did give it all they had, and you can be happy about that. Now, Boston and Cleveland, they kind of had our number the whole year. But one thing about us, when it comes down to the playoffs, I think we're going to be looking strong, and I think we're going to kind of click in them areas. Now, what I did see, how he hung in there, now Boston had nothing to play for, okay? We know that. But I guess they want to try to send a statement because we're probably going to see them in the second round, the way the collision course is headed. And I think they just want to let us know that this is how it's going to be. But we hung in there with them in a lot of tough moments of the game where at times we would have folded. And the beauty of this year's team is that they don't fold. You know, we keep fighting. If we get out of it, we get back in it. And last night was definitely a playoff atmosphere for the whole game. And that was much needed for a lot of our guys because Jalen Brunson is still coming off an injury. But he put up some good, not so much the good numbers that he had, but the way he orchestrated the game, like he played. And we're going to have to match them player for player. Now, last night, Porzingis did what he had to do. Jalen did what he had to do on Boston's side. Now, on our side, Brunson did what he had to do, and so did Cat. But then you look at Brown for them, and then for us, it's a combination of two guys. It's either got to be OG or it's got to be Mikal Bridges. One of them got to meet the challenge, and that was the difference in the game last night. One of those two has to step up every game, especially in the playoffs, because we know what we're getting out of Brunson and Towns. So that third wheel, we don't never know from game to game which one is going to be the third wheel. But we can't use the excuse because of who they got to guard on the other end, because Brown didn't have his best game, and he also has to guard one of them guys. And again, to their credit, OG and Mikal, they're relentless going to the hole. So that means Brown also had his work cut out for them. But one of them still has to materialize as that third wheel for us to be successful. Now, the other part that killed us was not so much Drew Holiday. He's always around the ball, but White killed us. And now that means if White's going to kill us, that means Josh Hart or Shamet, one of them got to also have a good game. Now, it's not uncustomary for us, for this Knicks team, for all five to have a good game. But we know the playoffs, something's going to be taken away. And if we just fast forward to a moment, down to that last shot that Josh Hart took, and I even said to my partner, maybe we should throw Shamet in there real quick because you're open for a reason, you know, and that's been the thing that because Josh give us, you know, triple doubles on a steady basis, we can live and die with that. But when it comes down to them type of situations, Josh Hart's going to have to know, and the Knicks are going to have to know that he's going to be the one left open. And those shots are going to have to fall. Like there's going to be nowhere to swing the ball because they're going to be right up in our grill. Now, at the end of the game, Tibbs talked about the airspace that we left them with. And sometimes you can't do nothing about that because they swing the ball. And then the way they were shooting it, Porzingis shooting from the hash mark, pulling it as soon as you get it, you can't defend that. And then White, as soon as he touched it, defense was on him, but it was better offense in his case, and he wasn't missing. And then Tatum, not so much his 3 points that I was worried about, but that 1 foot step back, he just kept shooting over our guys. That's the one that, in his case, that we got to contend. Because one thing we do know about Tatum, he's going to shoot it, whether he's on or he's off. Last night, he just happened to be on. So, yeah, the Knicks got some work cut out for them in the defensive part. Like, they can't stay home because Tibbs likes to have five guys in the paint. So that means if the ball is swinging, it just a matter how you're going to get out there. And the way that they shot the ball last night, it just was no answer for that part. Now, we also did well shooting the ball as a team. Individually, some guys made us struggle. But team-wise, we shot the ball pretty well. And I was really happy to see that we was able to get back in a game and, even take the lead and try to hold on to it and go bucket for bucket with the world champions from last year. So, I mean, it would have been nice to get the win because it was at the Garden. But we have still things that we have to build on. Again, there's no moral victory, but it's things I think they see that they could do better. Now, between OG and Bridges, One of them definitely going to have to shoot better. And then off of our bench, we're going to have to get 2 guys at least because they got Hauser and Pritchard, who going to show up because when their guys, when they get in the game, it doesn't matter who's in for their team. They're getting their shots where they're supposed to get them. So we have to make sure that when we bring in Shaman or we bring in Deuce or even Payne, they're going to get their shots, even if Brunson or Towns is on the floor, because that's the balance that you got to have a championship level team. So I was happy about last night. It was some misassignments on our part, but also on theirs too. So we just have to play the chess match, especially going down the stretch. And we put ourselves in a position to win. So I don't think nobody can really argue with that. But it's just certain things that, they doing it by experience. And we doing it by having some guys that wasn't here last year, but they've picked up on this new Knicks culture that we're creating. They're picking it up and they're setting the tone for it. So we still can't overlook our first round matchup, which is more than likely going to be Milwaukee. Now, we pretty much own Milwaukee this year, but it's talk that Dame might come back for the playoffs. And if he do, we still can't overlook him without him, but you just don't know. You don't know how the referees are going to treat Giannis. You can't say. So you got to go into that first round ready to fight, scrap, and do everything you got to do to get out of it. And then and not look to the second round. We don't have that luxury. And then when you get to that second round, now here's where the men separate the boys from. Like, again, we know what Jalen going to bring. We kind of see what Cat's going to bring, but we have to make Cat do that. Like, we got to force feed him that ball for him to do that. He's a willing passer. We know that. So we got to put him in a position that he can dominate. So it's going to align like the tails of the tape. Cat and Porzingis, they're almost going to cancel each other out points-wise in a lot of those series games. Cat maybe have a little bit more intangibles. Porzingis does block shots, so that's why that probably will equal out. Now, Brunson, even though he's not matched up with Tatum, what he give us and what Tatum gives them, they can almost cancel each other out also. Then it comes down to Brown, and rather it's Mikal or OG. Going to have to match what Brown do. And then the other one got to match what White or what Drew Holiday do. And then we still have Josh Hart. All right, so it's really, other than their experience of being there, that part is almost even. But we give them the edge and experience because they played together and won it for a year. Then you come back down to our bench. Now, they got 2, even though Cormier, I understand why we was driving into him, knowing he, just setting him up to block our shot. But, we have some advantages on the bench. Now, they have Hauser and Pritchard, who they know they rely on heavily and going to get theirs. And then they got some decent rotation players. But we also have one. We just have to find that niche for them. Tibbs is going to tighten up that rotation, regardless of what anybody says. But hopefully it's the right tighten up. And even when you tighten the rotation, you're still playing a chess match. Because Shaman, we're going to need that outside shooting. Payne, we're going to need that aggressiveness from him. And then, of course, we got Big Mitch, to come in and alter some shots and do some things there and some putbacks, some pick and roll alley-oops. So, we can do this. We can get into that round, not to look ahead. We can get into that round and make some noise. We haven't had a repeat offender as far as championship in a while. So the door is open for us. But it's just things that we just have to tighten up, which every team got to tighten up. We have to tighten up some things just to give ourselves a fighting chance. I was happy last night. We got 3 more games to go. But I think last night kind of set the barometer of us knowing what we have to do. And Tibbs, you just keep doing what you're doing because you got us this far. And now we can't abandon you now. But the players out there on the court, y'all got the green light. So take advantage of that green light and bring it back home to us where it belongs. All right? But until next time, peace.